Hi, this is Shaheedah Hill getting you over the hill to home ownership. Today I'm talking about how you should budget as a couple to prepare for home ownership. And I'm asking your frequently asked questions about how to buy a home with your spouse. I'm going to answer the questions first because they're asked a lot. So, number one is, if you are married, can you buy a house by yourself? So only one person on the mortgage. And that answer is yes, absolutely yes. So if only one person is going to qualify for the loan, they would just do the application on their own and just apply like they would normally apply and go about buying the home. Now, if you would like to add your spouse to the deed, like the actual ownership of the house, not the mortgage, but the deed, you can do that at closing or after closing. So the answer is yes. And a lot of couples opt to do this for a multitude of reasons, but the most popular is because one person doesn't have the credit score, one person has a lower credit score, and the other person wants to qualify on their own to get the best interest rates. Because remember, you cannot use, and that's almost question number two, can you use your spouse's income and not their credit score? And that answer is absolutely no. You cannot use someone on the loan, their income, but exclude their credit score. So if you have a really high credit score and your spouse has a low credit score, then they will use the lowest credit score. So just be mindful of that. Number three, I'm going to talk about what kind of accounts that my husband and I have. If you've ever watched this video, my husband's in this video. He doesn't do many videos with me, but maybe one day I can convince him to do a video with me. I make him subscribe, so he's probably watching. Should I buy? Another question was question number four. Should I buy a house by myself if you are in a long-term relationship? My answer is yes, but have an exit strategy. So in my situation, my husband and I have been together since I was 19. So, and I bought my first house at 23. Yeah, we didn't get married till I was 26. So 19, 23, 26, that's 7 years. He waited a little bit too long. However, it worked out for us and we've been married for 15 years now, but I could have waited and said, let's buy a house together, but he wasn't ready. So I went ahead and bought the house myself. And I say have an exit strategy because you don't want, if you really feel like eventually you will get married, a lot of times, you want to buy a house together. You want to feel like you're moving in to my house, that sort of thing. So just know, especially if you're like in a condo situation or a homeowners association, are there rental restrictions? Will you be able to rent this house out? Will you have enough equity to sell the house if you're going to have to sell the house and buy a new house? So think about those things, but don't allow it to stop you from buying. In my situation, we got married, we sold the house that I bought, and then we bought a house together. All right, so the last question is, should I buy a house before we get married? Like with your boyfriend or your fiance, I guess. I would say wait. Sometimes you have just too much going on. Maybe the first year that you're together, go ahead and rent, try to figure out, how budgeting and a lot of those things. And I'm going to talk about that, like how we budget. Just rent so you can, get married, rent a house, and then buy a house. That might be the easiest because sometimes people have a lot of things going on. I had a lot of questions. I'm having a baby. I'm getting married. I'm trying to buy a house. Your attention can't be all of those places at once. So in buying a house takes a lot of focus to make sure you're making the right decision. So, it's fine for you to get married and rent and then, together save up and buy a house. You don't have to automatically, I'm married, go buy a house. So, just do it in its time, but make sure you have enough time to dedicate to the home buying process. All right, so that's my advice. I don't really recommend buying a house with your boyfriend or girlfriend because buying a house is a big commitment. So is getting married. So why are they willing to commit for a house and not willing to commit to the marriage? And that's just me because I'm old school. All right, so let me tell you how my husband and I budget. And I'm going to start with a story because this will make, a lot. I think it will make it relevant for you and make you understand why we budget in this way. So number one, we both come from divorced parent households that didn't have like, oh, how do y'all budget? Nobody sat us down and said, oh, this is how we handle our finances as a married couple. So we had to figure it out pretty much on our own. And so how I figured it out, and a lot of times you are married to someone that may be opposite of you. It's not many times that both of you have, high credit scores, both of you are great with your finances. Sometimes you may get in a situation where one person has good credit, one person has bad credit, one person is really good with their finances, one person is, not that good with their finances. And what's good about that, you build together until both of you are good with your finances. So in my opinion, because everything comes off of your credit report in 7 years, if you've been married for more than 7 years and you both don't have very similar credit scores, then there's probably a financial problem that you guys need to address. You should have, the longer you are together as a married couple, the more your finances and your credit scores and all of that should look very much the same. So let me tell you a story. So maybe the first year that my husband and I were married, I'm the nerd of the couple as far as the finances and, calculating and budgeting. And so we filed our taxes together for the first time because that's what married couples do. They file jointly. And we were supposed to get back, I think, about $3,000 this year that we filed our taxes as newlyweds. And, I had many plans, or we had many plans. We're going to do this with our tax refund, that with our tax refund. And the tax refund never came. And, I was checking my direct deposit, checking, where's this tax refund? And it never came. But I did get a letter in the mail from the IRS. And the IRS said, we would like to inform you that your tax refund has been applied to the taxes that you owed. Okay. Now, I was aware that my husband at the time did owe the IRS, but I was like, it wouldn't affect me, not me with my 779 credit score. How could it affect me? Because guess what? The IRS said, you guys are married. What affects one person affects the other person. So they took my tax refund, even though I have really good credit and I didn't owe the IRS. So I had to have a moment in which, mind you, we got married. It's, up in front of God and all of our friends, but I really it didn't register to me that his finances would impact my finances. His, owing the IRS would impact me. So I could have, and I did. I Googled how to file separately. How to file separately. What do I need to do? I think I called my mom, everything. But at the end of the day, I had to be financially mature. Financially mature, relationship mature, all of those things that we really are a we at this point. Financially, we are a we. Spiritually, we are a we. Marriage, we are a we. So whatever affects one of us affects both of us. So that's what I want. All of those people are struggling with one spouse doing this and one spouse doing that. You have to come to the realization that whatever impacts one person impacts both of you. And that didn't come into my, I didn't realize that fully until they took that tax refund. So at that point, we became a we, 100%. So financially, everything. We're 100%. Whatever affects you, we owe the IRS. You don't owe the IRS. We owe the IRS. Okay. So that mindset, and most people have to take that mindset shift, especially if one person is coming into the relationship with a different financial picture. We have bad credit. We owe the IRS. We have debt. When you start saying we, then you together can decide how we're going to address the problem. And it's going to take a lot of financial maturity to do so. So this is what we decided. How we were going to manage our finances. So number one was accounts. So we were going to have one joint account and two separate accounts. And this is how the joint and separate accounts would work. So number one, our income, our pay, our checks, all of our income would get direct deposited into the joint account. So all of our money goes into the joint account. Now, what goes into our separate accounts? We sat down and said, what do we need on a monthly basis for spending individually? So things like, and I wrote it down in here, but I think it's backwards. I can't figure that out yet. Bear with me. But basically, so my spending, like right now, and it's probably different back then, but I get $200 for gas. So generally every week I show property, I do a lot of stuff. I need at least $200 for gas every month. So that's $50 on average a week. And then I have $100 in spending. Like if I just want to spend money on little things, I have $100. Averages about $25 a week. I have a $20 gym membership a month. I don't really go to the gym, but I have it. And then I have $130 for hair, clothes, going out with friends or whatever. I don't get my hair done every month. I get my hair done like every other month when I get it cut. But so that's mine. So my total spending that I take out of the joint and put into my separate account is $450. And then my husband has similar, because it all depends on how much gas he needs, how much spending he's comfortable with, that sort of thing. So we both have, all the money goes into the joint. Then we withdraw to our joint accounts, not our joint account, sorry, to our individual accounts. We withdraw our spending money for the month. Now, when we were saving for a house, a lot of that, when I said hair and clothes, it was bare bones. Like we didn't get extra spending money. It was bare bones, no extra spending. Gas is all you needed, because in the joint, that's when we budgeted for things like food and utilities and cell phone and savings, and all of those things came out of the joint. And then individually, we had accounts. So when we were making our budget, and I do have a budget. If you're in my first time buyers Facebook group, I have like our budget template. So our household budget comes out of that joint account. And part of the budget is our spending. So whatever we're going to spend for the month, whatever we need to spend, that can be as tight as it needs to be. Whatever you guys come together and say, I'm going to get this every month to spend for gas, or if we're just spending, and then whatever your spouse is going to get for that amount, y'all decide on that, agree on it. You get that amount. Everything else that remains in the joint, that's what you do. To save for, to budget for, to do everything else. So when we were like, okay, so they took our $3,000, how much do we owe the IRS now? It might have been, I forget, like $6,000. Okay, so we had a plan. We're paying this off. We're paying that off. We're doing this. It was a group plan, and every month. So what about extra stuff? So what if we want things that are more expensive, things for the house? There's always a conversation about it at the beginning of the month when we set our budget for the month. Typically it's at the end of the month. So it's like June. So at the end of June, we'll put a budget together from all of our joint income. We'll put a budget together for July. And when we put that budget together for July, we discuss it. I'm the one who probably types it up. Remember, I'm the nerd, but whoever wants to do it, does it, but nothing gets done out of the joint account unless both people agree. That's a big thing. Nothing gets done out of the joint account unless both people agree. And at first, we had to build trust. So we had a rule that if you were going to spend more than $50, you had to call or text the other person as to what you were spending that $50 on. Now, that was very early on. Now we don't have that stringent of a rule. It's basically, if you need something, you already know the budget, all the money that's being allocated out of the joint. So if you're going outside of that and trying to spend money in another area that wasn't already discussed, go ahead and do it. But at one time we had a rule, basically, if you had to spend over $50 out of the joint account, we had to have at least a text or a phone call conversation about that $50, $55, $100 beforehand. But once you build the trust with one another, as to like, you're just not going to go buy, a dress, a $300 dress out of the joint, after you've already agreed on certain things in your budget. So that's how we manage our household finances. And so out of that joint, out of our group income, we have savings. We have savings accounts for the children. We have pensions because we were teachers, but we've transferred some of that to a Roth IRA as well. So we have other things. That's a whole nother video. But the most basic everyday budget and goals, it is one joint account, all direct deposit, all income goes into there. And then we take out our spending, which our spending, I promise you, like I live off this $450 every month. And then if I need something like personal that costs more, like I want a treadmill, for example, because I haven't made it to the gym. And so I've been thinking about buying a treadmill. That's another conversation about should we spend this amount of money on a treadmill out of the joint or out of our savings. It's a conversation. So no money gets spent out of the joint without having a conversation ahead of time. So I hope this is helpful as you try to meet your financial goals. Remember, it's not you, it's not me, it's we. All right, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I will try to answer them.